Now, we often hear that Teslas are expensive, and okay, a Model Y in the US is now almost $60,000, but a Model 3 still starts at $45,000, which is about the average price of a new car in the US. Yes, mean average, and median would be a better measurement, I agree, but I couldn't seem to find that figure. If anyone knows, then please tell me in the comments, as it would be a useful figure, but we're talking about Teslas being expensive for a car, at least in the traditional sense. Now, we may say or think that most people can't afford a Tesla, but in reality, they possibly could, if they made it more of a priority. Take, for example, mobile phones. Back in the days before the iPhone, who would have dreamed of spending $1,000 on a phone? Okay, I'm talking about the 2010s era, not the 80s, and I'm talking about mass market. But now people are willing to spend $1,000 on an iPhone. They made it a priority. They were willing to make sacrifices in other areas to afford an iPhone. The iPhone or smartphone simply brings that much value and convenience to the consumer that as a result they may not have got on a holiday, or they may not have eaten out so much, or whatever it is they had to sacrifice. Their phone purchase took precedence. Now, I bring this example back to Tesla. Consumers may be willing to sacrifice more in order to afford a Tesla, but cutting out a few trips to Vegas and shopping at Walmart instead of Whole Foods isn't quite going to cover the expense of a new Tesla. So how are the masses going to be able to afford a Tesla? And bear with me here, this will be within time when consumers have a better understanding of what a Tesla is and how electric driving is obviously the future, as in they are aware that there is no fuel or servicing and that alone may save them thousands of dollars a year. That they are also aware that these cars don't really depreciate or minimally, especially when compared to, say, a GM. The consumers know they stay up to date over the air. They're also willing to pay extra because it saves them perhaps 20 hours of driving a month with FSD, and can make more of their time in the car rather than having to concentrate on driving, which is also exhausting. A Tesla is an asset compared to other cars that are liabilities. This is what the market may eventually understand, but still there is that price tag. But alright, when Tesla has finally ramped up, or at least a lot more, and the prices have come down somewhat too, then maybe a Model 3 might start at just $35,000, which is a bit more bearable, and perhaps we'll have a $25,000 compact too. Of course, all adjusted for inflation. We've spoken before about how Tesla could offer 10 years financing options for these cars due to minimal depreciation they see, as they are an asset. Even if they were 20 years old and still in reasonable condition, then it is still a vehicle that can travel from A to B at a very low cost. That is significant intrinsic value, not to mention the potential of it being included into the robotaxi fleet. But still, $30-ish thousand for the average person can be a bit. But what about other sacrifices they might make? Could it be possible people may be willing to have a slightly less expensive house? It might be that consumers may spend $15,000 less on a house and then put a further $20,000 into a Tesla, i.e. $15,000 plus $20,000 is $35,000 for a Tesla. Right, but that wouldn't be equity as people buy houses with mortgages. Sure, but the mortgage is all about what you can afford on payments. If you finance a $35,000 Tesla, your payments are about $500 a month for 6 years until it's paid off. If you were previously willing to finance a $20,000 vehicle and you're now spending $15,000 less on a house, then it works out about the same for your monthly payments. Okay, sort of, as your mortgage might be a 30-year loan compared to a 6-year loan, so you are paying more principal on the car each payment, but you kind of understand where I'm headed here. But if you were to spend $20,000 on this other vehicle, it would have also cost you in the region of $300 a month on servicing and fuel. Oh, and that cost lasts for the lifetime of the vehicle. Our $500 a month payment for the Tesla, well, that stops after 6 years when it's paid off. Sure, you do need to pay for electricity, but that will still cost less than a quarter of running the ICE vehicle. Also, once the Tesla is paid off, well, I bet it's worth at least $25,000 still, probably more, whereas that $20,000 car is probably worth well under $10,000, depending on what you bought and how old it was. But then, like I said, there is the fact that you don't have to drive the Tesla. That has immense value. I assure you, people will eventually wake up to this. If you don't believe me, then my guess is you probably haven't experienced FSD and very likely do not own a Tesla. Although a Tesla is a very fun thing to drive, sometimes you have better things to do. You want to drive when you want to, not when you have to, which is what it's like in every car currently. You have to drive, no choice around that. My point is, consumers will find more ways of purchasing a Tesla as it is perceived as more of an asset when compared to the traditional ICE vehicles that are poisonous liabilities. It's not just that the consumers will make it more of a priority, but they will also understand it is simply a more valuable vehicle, at least at these current price points. which is why I'm saying Teslas are still great value despite them raising the prices so much. These cars are almost a bargain in a sense, which is also why we haven't seen anyone else capable of making EVs at the same cost Tesla can. I'm saying the price it costs Tesla to make them, not what they're sold to the end user at. We're continually seeing more and more people waking up to this. I've even taken so many people for test drives in my Tesla already, they get shocked when they get the sensation of their eyeballs being forced into the back of their skull when they feel the acceleration for the first time, and instantly realize that electric is the future, or at least Tesla's. I mean, I'm not even talking about the fact it's the safest car in the world, and that is the number one thing that people look for in buying a new car, or the plethora of features that come standard that might cost $10,000 of upgrades in a European car and not even available in others. But just the asset value of it being lower cost to run and offering self-driving as a feature. But there are plenty of Tesla owners like me trying to convince everyone they know to buy one too. This is grassroots marketing. Teslas sell Teslas. Imagine having millions of salespeople. We don't even get referral rewards anymore. We do it for the love of the car, the company, and the mission. And who knows what sort of ways Tesla might assist consumers in being able to afford their Teslas. They could offer 10-year financing, as the car doesn't really depreciate as much. Like I've said, if you don't make your payments, then the car then repossesses itself. Or perhaps you can get a discount on it by adding it into the robotaxi network. Or maybe the car being added into the robotaxi network means it will pay for its finance payments, and your job is to just keep the car presentable. The functionality of these cars is still so hard to get our head around, and how it works in the economy. There's so many revolutionary new economics and value that has never been seen before. One of the main factors being it is a robot with wheels and simply replaces human labour. Demand for Teslas will not be like other cars at typical prices. We recently established that the Model Y long range sales alone might beat the Toyota Corolla in annual units sold, a car that is not far off 3 times the price, outselling the best-selling vehicle, not to mention how much extra margin said car carries. Elon knows this. Elon doesn't want people to catch on yet. It will hurt supply more and will have even longer waiting lists. It could attract too much attention, which is probably why he is potentially sandbagging the entire company. Tesla just need to get that battery supply up, which is why they are likely doing everything humanly possible they can. This company is not messing around. The vast majority of consumers are not going to choose the competition over a Tesla because you won't be able to undercut Tesla on price on their home turf, and every continent will be Tesla's home turf. Okay, some of the Chinese are literally cheaper to buy than a Tesla, but they're not matching like for like. The Tesla always has more range and all the other Tesla additions. And as I like to keep reminding you, these companies are selling at a net loss, not a profit. So how long is that sustainable? It's much harder to invest in R&D and try and make your car profitable when you're losing money, and more R&D only accelerates the losses. They're investing with scared money. Tesla has abundant profits to work with. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.